Sports.
And welcome back to Bite Size Sports. It is a super sized episode, so that means I have the one, the only, the illustrious Sean B. You can find him on Twitter at Baker Screet. And Sean is here to discuss, among many things, the Chiefs versus Bengals game and most importantly the officiating of said game. But before we get all into all of that, welcome back, Sean. It's good to have you, brother. How are you feeling today?
I'm doing well, brother. I appreciate you asking. Glad to be here, and I'm excited to chop it up with you and discuss one of our favorite things in the world, which is sports, homie. I'm excited as freak to do that with you.
We are gonna explore the why. This would have almost been a topic, and in fact, some of these topics have been a part of our Wild World of Sports stream, so which you at home can catch by subscribing to the Bite Size Sports YouTube channel. Wild World of Sports is a laid back stream, a little bit like tonight, where, well, we just look at the really weird things that go on in sports Twitter. So, one of the beautiful things about sports Twitter is it can collect highlights for you. Highlights like this one, Sean. We're going to talk about the officiating in the AFC Championship first, and we're going to get a highlight here of not one, maybe three holds on the same player. Now, that play you just saw, it's a pretty famous one from the game. That was the one that ended any hopes the Bengals had because of the late hit. What are your thoughts seeing this, Sean? Were you aware of this hold?
That I was not. That is actually news to me, sir. And wow, that's ridiculous.
There are plenty more like this. Now, before, I mean, the whole, I think this part kind of speaks for itself, right? Absolutely should have been called. Who's not looking at that? But one of the arguments that I have heard about this call, the call that happened at the end of this play, wasn't so much, I have not heard people say that this was not a late hit out of bounds. It's pretty clear that Patrick Mahomes was out of bounds at the time
Right.
the defender initiated contact. What I have heard is that people have said this is not how you can't allow the game to end on this penalty, and that there are people genuinely saying the refs should have just kept the flag in their pocket. Now, having seen the multiple holds that the refs didn't call, what are your thoughts on the idea of not calling that late hit and allowing the game essentially to go into overtime? Should the refs have put the flags in their pocket and let the players decide the game on the field?
Yeah, I would agree with that, considering what we're just now seeing here with this multiple hold situation. If you guys aren't going to call that, then why call the other one? You know what I'm saying? Just let it play out. And I kept saying that a lot that game. Like, just let them play, man. Like, they were literally calling everything that they possibly could, mostly against the Bengals. And it's like, I just couldn't help but feel like it was, you know, part of the plan. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, the whole game had a weird vibe to me. And just seeing how I think it's just like anything, dude. Like one guy could have like tripped on a shoelace and they would have somehow called a flag on it or something, dude. It was just like everything they could find, they was throwing them out. And it just felt like, I mean, honestly, it felt rigged to me. And I'm not usually one of those guys, oh, yeah, NFL is, NFL's rigged. Duh, duh, duh. I'm not one to typically be yelling that, but this game, man, just had a really weird feeling to me. What you think, Kev? What were your thoughts on it?
I can attest that you are not normally an NFL is rigged guy, and I will say, if we have time later, it will be really fun to look at the quote tweets. If you saw, Arian Foster was on a podcast recently where he jokingly admitted to the NFL being scripted, and he said that the practices were just them, practicing the script for that week, and all the players have run with it. Like any player who's had bad luck, for instance. There have been memes about, Jason Pierre-Paul when he got his 4th of July script, and he's looking at his hands, and it's so there have been people who have called out like the ridiculous. The players have really come to taking this to task, where they've been like, yeah, all of these, like the idea of Matt Ryan looking at his script for this year. Why would he not retire if he knew this was what he was signing up for? But I do think with sports betting and with the fact that we have human beings being referees and the fact that not necessarily in this sport, but in other major sports, it is a fact that not only have NCAA basketball games been fixed, but NBA games have been fixed. NCAA football games have been fixed. Not in a sense of controlling the complete narrative, but when we're looking at point shaving, that's a real
Oh
thing
yeah.
that happens.
Oh yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so it's very possible. And to bring up your point here, Sean, I'm glad that you made it because here I'm going to pull this tweet up and I'll read it for those of you on the audio. The Chiefs just told all their offensive linemen to hold everyone, and the refs decided to call a personal foul on a Bengals defender who injured himself trying to pull up. It's hard to look at this after everything else that happened to this game and not think the NFL had a favorite. And that's kind of what you alluded to, Sean. It was very difficult to look at this one. This had a vibe of the I can't remember what year it was. It was the Kaepernick led 49ers versus the Seahawks. It had a very feel of that championship game where everyone was like, "Man, you guys just don't want this team to win. Like this game is rigged." Again, to take it to the NBA, felt a little bit like the Kings versus Lakers in the early 2000s, like 2000, 2001 conference championship, where clearly the NBA was going to make more money if big market LA goes to the championship. And this one's weird. And after last year, after it being Bengals Rams, it would have been hard for me to say, oh, yeah, sure, the NFL, they have a vested interest in this because who would have picked Bengals Rams to be the money making Super Bowl? But it's really hard to look at this and not think that someone, it might not be the entire NFL, but someone wearing stripes, in my opinion, seemed to have a rooting
Vested interest.
interest. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
I
yeah,
I saw a fake meme. Sorry to cut you off. I saw a fake meme um, shortly after. That was a couple days after the one ref with the glasses. I can't think of his name offhand. It's like Mark Borston or whatever. But he there's a meme about him talking about he didn't know his son had placed money on the Chiefs until after the game. But I looked into that and that was fake. So excuse me. But what made me think about it was your comment about sports betting and how I'm not a fool to I'm not going to believe that people don't have special interest. Even players, coaches, refs. I'd be a fool to believe otherwise. Am I like people do crazy things for money, dude. And if it's going to help them out, put a little money in. It may never be them. It might be their cousin or the brother or somebody who like, yo, dude, I need you to do this. Try to get this paper. I mean, it's hard to say no. I mean, especially the loved ones, man. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if people were pulling that video.
it
Yeah,
wouldn't
dude.
surprise me either. We saw this back to the NBA again with the. Did you see the no call at the end of the Celtics Lakers game that sent it to overtime when LeBron was clearly fouled by Jason Tatum on the forearm and there was a ref right there? He should have been watching. He was either watching the ball or he had an interest. I choose to say, as a former ref, as a former OSHA certified ref, mind you, by the way, as a former paid official, I'm trying to speak to some of you out there. The guy was probably watching the ball. All right, that happens a lot. People miss a lot of calls because you're human, especially. Listen, I never got to referee the likes of LeBron James. I could not imagine how hard it is to not watch the ball when you're just some guy watching that greatness. But there was that missed call, very badly missed call, and then after the fact, it was one of the refs found out there was a photo of his wife and kids, and they're all Celtics fans. So this stuff, it's hard to look past it when there's stuff like that. And I tend to be somewhere in the middle on this, Sean. Like I said, I don't believe in some massive conspiracy, especially those people who think that it's like Illuminati blood sacrifices. People are sacrificing their children for Super Bowls. I think that's completely asinine, and if anything, it deludes and diverts from what could be the truth, which would be that people who stand to make money are doing whatever they can to try to make some money, whether that be shave some points here and that. I think that's more realistic, that it's shady
Exactly.
individuals here and there, but I'm certain that they exist, and I'm certain that they will. I mean, there was a documentary. Do you remember the McDonald's Monopoly game
Yeah.
from back?
Yep. The
Yeah,
McMillions documentary.
yeah. That was rigged. Of course it was.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, and who's surprised, really? At the end of the day, you give people who haven't had power before, or people who are just greedy by nature, you give them that kind of power, that kind of access, and boom, all it takes is a couple to ruin it. So I don't know. I did like seeing. Let's see. There was some point here. Here's of course Arrowhead Tom. So not like there's a vested interest here. Not like he's a Chiefs fan or anything. But here it says, got my hands on the all 22, and I hate to admit it, but the Bengals fans are right. The refs made Joe Burrow throw 2 picks to a rookie secondary, and they made sure the Chiefs were going to win by giving up 5 sacks to the Chiefs' defensive line. Now, those are some valid points. It has to be noted while we're beating up the refs. Now, I don't think it can be denied that they were given some extra chances, but yeah, the Bengals could have done a lot better for themselves, and that's, I think, the takeaway if you're a player. And I really felt bad for the people who were dunking on that poor defensive player who hit Mahomes a split second too late. You can't be in a position to let it come down to that. There were a ton of opportunities the Bengals had to take care of business and make sure that it wasn't going to come down. It's just like the Bills, was it last year or 2 years ago, the whole 12-second thing. You got no excuse for
Yeah.
that. You can't blame that on the ref. As much as it would be easy to do that, and as much as the refs certainly have some questions to answer, you can't allow yourself to be in that position. That's what we were always taught. I don't know about you, Sean, but that's what I was always taught growing up, regardless of the sport. When it came down to it, coach wasn't trying to hear it. We can't be in that position. It should have been
Right.
a one-possession game, whatever. There were opportunities for us to handle our business instead of looking for someone to blame. But, easy for me to say I'm part of the Illuminati, Sean. So I haven't paid my dues yet, though. So
I knew it.
there's not nearly the perks you would think, and it costs so damn much. I can't imagine what it would mean to, like, I can't even afford the bumper stickers, dude. It's insane. Um, so we've got the bang.
Yeah.
We got the Bengals Chiefs. We didn't have a ton of highlights. Do you have any parting thoughts on this Chiefs Bengals game? I guess I do want to point out before the final play, there were, to me, there were two obvious block in the back calls on that punt return that allowed. It was the first big punt return that Sky Moore had in the entire evening, and then the poor NFL decided to show a replay of that return, and I'm like, really? You're gonna show you showed both block in the backs on this replay. Like, those are the times where I'm just like, that to me almost tends to prove that it's not rigged, because as an old wrestling fan growing up, right, as that was a rigged sport, right, they went out of their way to not have a camera on the guy when he's cutting his forehead, so my thing is, if it was rigged, why are they showing us replays where it's like, oh, look at these obviously missed calls? Like, everyone can see that, right? If you were really rigging it, wouldn't you just not cut to that replay? But
Right.
I
You
don't
would
know.
think so. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I mean, I agree with you for the fact. I mean, I do agree with your point that there were opportunities for the Bengals to win, and they didn't play well. I mean, Burrow only threw 1 touchdown, 2 picks. They weren't really getting much on the ground game. I mean, they didn't play their best football, that's for sure. So the fact, with that said, though, with them playing like half-ass football, they still were in it the whole time. They were neck to neck, down to the wire. So I think that speaks volumes as far as like what the future holds for the Bengals. Like, we're going to see them again. I mean, it's not over. They're gonna keep making runs, as assuming they can keep the core together. And They got a lot of off-season free agency things to worry about this year. So as long as they can keep everybody on the squad that they currently have, I mean, most of the key players, I think they're in good shape going forward. Burrow's not going
Yeah.
anywhere. I mean, they're going to pay that dude when the time comes. I mean, I've heard rumors of they're already talking extension talks with him. Jamar Chase is going to get paid. T. Higgins is going to get paid. I mean, those three dudes get paid and keep them around. Like they're gonna continue to be competitive for years to come. I mean, they got a good core, man. Zach Taylor, a lot of people shitted on that dude for the first couple seasons, but he also didn't have really any pieces to work with. Everyone was like ready to throw in the towel on the guy.
He has not
But he's
enough
proven if
patience.
you give him, yeah, he's proven if you give him what he needs, and he's actually a pretty damn good coach, man. I'm impressed with what they've built down there for sure, and you know, I wish him the best. That was my daddy's team, so they're always kind of like got a place in my heart, and wouldn't mind seeing them do some damage, but you know, I like to see them do well. So yeah, I mean, as far as that game goes, it's done. It's done. Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. I'm just hoping the Eagles smack the piss out of them. That's my
Ooh.
happy thoughts at this point. I'm hoping they smack the brakes off them dudes. But anyone who knows me knows I have a vested interest in seeing the Chiefs lose. So
That
that's
is.
going to make me happy. I'll be cheering and acting a fool when that ass whooping occurs.
No, that's fair. Now I don't blame you. I played the different card this year in the playoffs. I went all in for the Jags because I'm like, let's go AFC South. Let's show them. But the Jags aren't the Chiefs, right? That's like it'd be like the difference between rooting to make it a baseball thing. The difference between rooting for the Tampa Rays and the New York Yankees when your team's out of the playoffs, right? It's like okay, well, there's one of these. It feels much more tolerable to jump on that bandwagon for a month, but the other one's a bit more egregious. So I definitely don't blame you. Now I will say before, because you mentioned what you hope will happen in the Super Bowl, and we will get to our predictions here momentarily. But you mentioned the future of the Bengals, and while I agree with you on some of those points, you brought up uh, a valuable point, which I think is one of the question marks I have for the Bengals. Because you're 100% right. Burrow's going to get paid. Jamar Chase is going to get paid. And T. Higgins will get paid, and it may not be by the Bengals at that point because although the salary cap is going up again for next year, one of the things that concerns me when you have two world beaters in Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase is there is this kind of situation, and we look at it, the Eagles are doing it. The Chiefs seem to be the exception to the rule, but I believe the Bengals had also been doing it. I think even going back to the Legion of Boom, it started really with Russell Wilson, but a lot of times that Super Bowl soup, that mixture that you throw in the crock pot for 8 hours, Sean, a lot of times it's a well paid defense, a well paid front on both the offense and the defense. You got a good O line, you got a good defensive line, and you've got a good quarterback on a rookie contract, right? That's when it works because once you have to pay that guy, and then once you have to pay that guy's best receiver, you don't have
Yeah,
the money for the other 20 guys you need out there. And we see that sometimes. But now, again, conversely, to put a hole in my own point, you do have the Chiefs. So teams are able to do it. So I have a little bit of a concern that the Bengals won't. I agree with you. They're going to be around. They're going to be in the mix because they have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. So they're going to be able to get into some track meets. But I worry for them. Not that their window is closed. It's certainly not. But these ask Dan Marino, these opportunities don't come around every year. So the Bengals really do need to strike while the iron is hot. And it's unfortunate because I will say this, just my final thought on this game. Other than the questionable officiating, if the Bengals' offensive line was healthy, I don't think that this game is incredibly close. They survive the Bills because the Bills don't have the front seven that the Chiefs have. They don't have at least really the two pass rushers that the Chiefs have. and the Chiefs got home 5 times. They got without those sacks, those interceptions Joe Burrow doesn't usually throw, and that's because the pressure got home very quickly. If the Bengals had no line, if their
Right.
O-line was healthy, they're probably in the Super Bowl. More so than the refs. I think that's really what screwed them is 2 untimely injuries in their offensive line.
No, that's a very valid point. Because Kappa and with Lowell Collins was down too, right? With those
I
the two
believe
linemen
so,
that were
yeah.
out.
Yeah, they were
So
treating that
yeah,
Andrew Wentworth, trying to get him to come out of retirement for 1 week. That's how rough it got.
yeah. I mean, they definitely. I mean, they did definitely improve the line going into this year, but it still seems to be a glaring hole. They need to add some more depth to it for sure because you can't be in a position where, God forbid, I mean, we all know injuries happen. So like if you lose a guy or two, like you don't want to be just automatically screwed. You need to have some kind of backup. So yeah, I think they need to. That's something they could maybe improve on in the draft. Um, Try to get some depth there. But other than that, man, they're pretty solid all around. Like their defensive line was pretty solid. I mean, they were rushing the shit out of Pat Mahomes, man. Like they were bringing some pressure on that dude, and they were making him do some things he typically wouldn't do. So I mean, it was a good game, and yeah, I mean, I love the close ones, especially playoff football, man. I don't want to see blowouts. Like it's kind of boring. Like I want to see teams that belong. Like if you're in the playoffs, you better prove you belong there, dude. You better put up some points. You better play a good game. Like I want this shit to be tight. I don't want to see a 30-point blowout in a championship game. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not to me. That's just a snoozer. But
Yep.
I don't know. That's just my
Looking
opinion,
at
dog.
you, NFC. I'm with you on that. No, at the very least, we got that close game, and that takes us to the Super Bowl. I was over here trying to get the worldwide leader in sports just to show me the matchup so I could look at the spread, but that is proving to be just a little more difficult. But we obviously know the two teams. We have the Chiefs, we have the Eagles. Right now, they're focused more, I guess, on the Pro Bowl. So let's move it up. Let's see. I don't even know if this has. I'm sure spreads have come out. Maybe it is a little early. But Sean, let's just take it from a straight up perspective. Chiefs versus Eagles. I know who you want to win. How confident are you that the Eagles are beating the Chiefs? Or are you all in heart over head and you think the Chiefs are the better team, but you're just hoping that the Eagles win?
That is kind of where I'm at, unfortunately. And I know it all too well. Being a Raiders fan, like I've seen the Chiefs play many a times, and like I know what they're capable of. And like as much as I hate the Chiefs, I'm not going to deny that Pat Mahomes is that dude. Like he's just that dude, and he's got Kelsey. He's got weapons. I mean, he's made your boy Valdez Scantling look like a stud. He's made took some of these dudes, Juju, some of these guys that really aren't, in my opinion, nothing special, just average players. But he's made it work. They got a future Hall of Famer throwing him the ball, and if you say otherwise, you're a damn idiot. Yeah, I hate the Chiefs, but I'm not blind to facts, dude. Like this guy is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like as much as he's already done in his young career, he's already won a Super Bowl. He's been to what, 3 or 2? But this will be a third one, right? This will be the third
Yeah.
Super Bowl.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean that's pretty impressive. And the dude's what, like 25, 26 years old. Like,
It might even be
you
40,
know,
but yeah, exactly. Yes, and it is impressive, and he's got a long time to go. And yeah, so I think, and you mentioned MVS, and Valdez Scantling. That's a guy. Here's a guy who finally showed up after a season of question marks and really being a decoy. I was on the Rumbles of Red podcast doing a fantasy and gambling show a couple weeks ago with Trevor. Shout out. Go check that out, guys. And he is a Chiefs fan. That's a Chiefs podcast, Rumbles of Red. That's Chiefs red. And
So,
so we were doing a preview show for the AFC Championship, and we were talking about the lack of MVS. And what he said was that Valdez Scantling had basically been running wind sprints all season. Was the amount of routes that he ran was ridiculous. The dude's running so many routes, and but he wasn't getting targeted. He was just basically, hey, you're gonna run a streak, and someone's gonna have to. They can't not cover you, so that's gonna open up some space. So this week he finally showed out over 100 yards, and like you said, he's not. It's not Tyreek Hill anymore. Of course, he has Kelsey. McKinnon has made some plays, but a good number of those plays have been some absolute wizardry from Pat Mahomes. But look at this. The matchup predictor is maybe rigged. Since we're on that topic today, look at a direct 50-50 split. You know how difficult that is to accomplish. They're not doing anything to help. There's no spread available yet. It's a 50-50 matchup predictor. Absolutely nothing going on. Now, I guess I have to make a pick, and so look at this. Now, everyone's questionable. Some of these could be what I like to call a Belichick questionable, which is to say that it's not in question at all. But, Kadarius Toney is a very real questionable. He came out, missed most of last game, right, after
yeah.
taking a hit. So I am going to – oh, this is tough. It's the Andy Reid Bowl, by the way, and we have to consider that. I wonder – answer me this, Sean, before I give my final prediction here. Do you think that Andy Reid is the kind of guy that's going to draw up a couple of special things for his old friends in Philly? Like, I get the feeling that I don't know if there will be trick plays, but this is a team that ran a hook and ladder in the first half of the AFC Championship in a game in which they were not heavy underdogs, by the way. But do you think that Andy Reid's going to get out the old Waffle House menu and draw up something special for his former team as a way to say, hey, remember when you thought I was the problem? Because to me, although he's won a title, what could be sweeter than beating the team that sent you home because, God forbid, you took him to 4 straight NFC championships, Sean? What do you think? You think Andy's still holding on to that grudge?
I mean, probably. Yeah, probably.
I thought you were going to say, nah, dude, he's just focused on cheeseburgers and he's got his ring, he's above it. But I don't think so. I mean, if that were the case, he'd retire, right? Because what else does he have left to accomplish? These dudes are competitors, right? So what
That's
you
what I
think
was
he's
about
going
to
to
say. He's just so competitive, man. Like, he just wants to win. I don't necessarily think he has a vendetta out for the Eagles, but I mean, dude, how sweet would it be? It's always sweet to like stick it to your former or your adversary or whatever you want to say. Like, it's always nice to get that upper hand. You know what I'm
have
saying?
a
Like
little
someone
Mac
that,
Jones moment?
yeah, someone you felt like might have slided you or whatever. It's always nice to stick it to him when you can. So I'm sure he'll enjoy whooping on him if that's the case. But like I said, man, the realism in me is saying Chiefs will probably take it, but I'm hoping that the Eagles come in and just smack the piss out of them because, yeah, the hatred runs deep over here. So I'm hoping that's the case. But and I don't want to do Jalen. I mean, people, you don't want to write Jalen Hurts off, man. He's had a hell of a year, dude, and he was a big reason why I technically won the fantasy league, and then
Oh,
had it
yeah.
stripped away. But that's besides the point. But he was a big reason for my
Oh,
success.
yeah.
Needless to say, Jalen Hurts balled out all year long, and he's looked great. Um, I think he's hungry, man. He's gonna, a lot of people are picking Mahomes over Jalen, like, just kind of writing him off like he doesn't have a chance. But I mean, the people I've been hearing talking are like, yeah, dude, Chiefs are gonna take this. This is gonna be a cakewalk, pretty much. I don't think it's gonna be a cakewalk, dude. Like, I think the Eagles are gonna come in with something to prove. It's been a few years since they've been in it. I mean, the last time they won was with Doug Peterson, and they've got a whole new team since then, and there was all that controversy. A lot of people we're talking about when Peterson was there, he didn't really think Jalen Hurts was the guy, and there was all this like, this noise coming out of there. But he's came in, dude, and he has crushed it. And I hope he comes in and just takes a big old shit on the Chiefs. That's what I'm hoping. So
I
I'll be rooting for the Eagles, but I'm not going to be surprised if the Chiefs win. It's pretty much what I'm saying.
That's fair, man. It's hard for me to have a rooting interest in this one, but you've almost talked me into the Eagles after that. But I want to piggyback on that and talk about Jalen Hurts a little bit more because I agree with you on that the fact that this is not a guy to be overlooked. And I want us to do a small memory exercise together because I think it will really help those that are questioning Jalen Hurts. And it wasn't that long ago, Sean, that this dude got benched at Alabama and then had to come off of the bench, I believe, in the national championship game and led them to victory. Or was it a semifinal? I can't remember. But he had to come in after being benched his senior year. He had to come in off the bench cold in the second half to lead Alabama to victory. And then he goes on to transfer to Oklahoma and be a dude there, and then again gets drafted by the Eagles, is probably not the guy, has to deal with whatever it was like with Carson Wentz there at the time, and now
Yeah,
is here. And not to mention is a guaranteed touchdown inside 2 yards. I mean, he's got the physical attributes as well. He's become one of the best quarterback sneak quarterbacks, most efficient ones in history, at least for this run of this season. So yeah, this is a guy who's faced all kinds of diversity. Who a couple of years ago none of us saw this because he wasn't this. He was really just a mobile quarterback early on at Alabama. Didn't have a lot going on as far as his read and recognition stuff. He didn't have the same. I don't think he wasn't dealing with the same. I can't remember. Did he have Judy and all those guys? I don't think he had the exact same. He might have had some overlap with that too, a wide receiver room. So I don't want to dig myself into a hole here. But Jalen Hurts. Moral of the story is this is a comeback kid from a comeback city in Philadelphia, and I can't write them off. I'm gonna be in your same boat here, Sean. As it stands right now, I am my head says Chiefs, but I'm going to root to see the Eagles to win, despite my occasional distaste for that fan base. I do I want to, and it's weird. They're both 14-3, and at points in the year, the Eagles were thought of as the clear number one. Right? There were times where everyone thought they were the best team, and then there was everybody else. But now somehow we've gotten here to where they maybe are looking as the underdog to a Chiefs team that has a one-legged Patrick Mahomes under center. So
yeah.
it's kind of crazy the way these narratives change. But I will be interested to see what happens with the spread. And so we're going to say Chiefs for now, but I do want to plug this because I had so much fun making FanDuel lineups and talking for an hour nonstop about prop bets and building parlays that we are doing it. We are adding it here to Bite Size Sports. We're not just going to be doing fantasy mock drafts like we did this last season. We're going to start getting into daily stuff. We're going to keep it on the main channel here to start, and if it grows, it may need its own channel. But for now, make sure you're subscribed because it's going to be a minute. We got to get past this Pro Bowl before a lot of this stuff will be live that we can go through. But yeah, we will be getting into the betting, and we'll do a proper full-on, it's nothing but the Super Bowl preview episode. So I will be glad to bring back the illustrious Sean B, and hopefully we can get old Nate Dogg in at some point too when the time comes. But that is what we have for now. We're both saying the Chiefs are likely to win. And I think with that, we'll take our detour from the main world of sports and dive into a little bit of the obscure. So I'm going to ask
Getting
you it
weird.
this
Getting
way,
weird out
Sean.
here. Getting
Yeah, it's
weird.
about to get real funky. So let me ask you it this way, Sean. Would you like the domestic weird? Do you want the American weird or the international weird first? Which would be your preference?
Mm, let's go ahead and take it overseas, dog.
Ooh, I like it. We're going to go overseas and watch a little sport called Batyr Ball. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and I sincerely doubt that I am. But let's check it out. Without further ado, let's. This one's a little bit of a shorter clip. Oh no, never mind. We're gonna. Oh, here it is. Here it is. We don't need the 50 Cent music, but here we see a game of basketball. Oh yeah, okay. Well, first of all, we're going to need to improve the glass. This was, I believe, this was the first clip that I watched on this, Sean. The seeing the backboard get shattered in Batyr Ball, which is, I mean, it's great marketing, right? Like this is their Shaquille O'Neal moment right here. But in all reality, I don't think any of these dudes should be able to. Like, you just need a better backboard because I I shouldn't be saying this because every dude in that octagon, including the referee, could beat my ass. But there is nothing cool about breaking the glass on a 6 foot rim, my dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, bad look for me, Sean. Let's let's for those of you who can't figure out what's going on here. This is UFC meets 3-on-3 basketball. I don't believe dribbling is required, but let's watch a lengthier clip here. This might help us get a little bit more of the context here. Maybe can I afford to go full screen here? Yes, look at this. Okay, we can see a little bit better. There's some lockups here. This guy's okay. See, and then it just breaks into a fight. So, Sean, you know this. I do combat sports commentary. I have not had the pleasure of doing basketball commentary yet. I I would. How do you call this action? First of all, that's not a shot, sir. Okay. Has no one watched a James Naismith training video? This is crazy. So we've got, it's kind of like rugby meets the UFC meets 3-on-3 basketball because we have all these scrums here. They're like blocking other defenders. Oh, is that a three? Is that a 3 point line, Sean? There's a 3 point line. Look at that. You see that?
Oh
Where the
wow.
Eagle FC is. You see this right here? Let's see. I'll put
Yeah.
it on the screen. There we go. There's a 3 point line there.
Ooh.
Insane. There's no dribbling, apparently. Did you see that? I'm going to rewind a little bit
Yeah.
here, folks, because they're apparently dribbling is not a thing. I don't know, Sean. Are you upset? Yeah, definitely dribbling's not required. Wow. It makes the game look ugly, right? To me, it takes a beautiful game and makes it hideous that none of these folks are dribbling, and none of them could shoot. Oh, my bad. I didn't know your game was like that. Sorry. Uh, I'm gonna pause for a second because, as I said, the this game is so frenetic. I think it's hard to do some play by play. So let's I'll let it marinate for a second. Sean, what are your first thoughts on Batyr Ball?
Oh my goodness, dude.
My thoughts exactly.
Oh, oh man. Well, I can't say that I'm a fan. It's entertaining, I guess. Mostly to me, it's just, I mean, it's just funny. Like just seeing a dude try to like take it for a layup and just get tackled, dude. It's like, good God, wow.
uh, yeah,
So it's just like I don't know, man. It's definitely different. I don't see it ever being popular popular in the U.S. I don't see it doing well here, but I mean, dude, it might get a little bit of a following. I see like 20 people in the crowd over there. I mean,
yeah.
it might pop
It's
off overseas.
it's not great, but hey, humble beginnings. That's okay. They might pick up, and you know it's tough. I think about things. What was that slam ball? That's what it was called. Do you remember this, Sean? The basketball sport that had trampolines.
Yes,
If
I do
if
remember
that
slam ball.
if that alternate basketball didn't take off, then I'm afraid that nothing will. But I did just find out on Twitter yesterday that the AFL has announced its comeback. That's the Arena Football League, folks. In 2024, the Arena Football League will be back. Hopefully, that means the Columbus Destroyers will be back. But I only mention that along with the return of the XFL and the USFL to say that now is the time for nostalgia pet sports projects. We also have like the fan controlled football league. That's not really nostalgic, but if there were ever a time for an angel investor to come and bring slam ball back to the great United States, I think it would be in the next year or two. So let's all pray and hope and offer whatever sacrifices to our own deities that we can get slam ball back. But I tend to agree with you. I don't think that this catches on, but I want to watch some more because, damn, I'm having a lot of fun trying to figure it out. Now, I, at some point, want to get an – wow, that's just an air ball. Sean, this reminds me of the worst. Like, we've played in some bad 3-on-3 games, you and I, at the park. You know what this – oh, my God. Okay. This reminds me, in high school, it was very common for the wrestlers to come to basketball open gyms or meet up with us at the YMCA to get – it was just another way for them to get cardio, right? They're just trying to cut weight. They don't really care. They just need to run around. And a lot of these guys just look like that wrestler dude who is running around, being way too aggressive. He travels 80% of the time because he doesn't really know the rules. He looks like Stanley Hudson dribbling the basketball. It's very bad. These guys, I think, as ugly as it looks that they're traveling everywhere, imagine how much worse it would be. And they're doing live substitutions. Sorry, squirrel. Imagine how much worse it would be if these guys were dribbling. But look, they're doing hockey substitutions. That guy had a wide open jumper because they're doing live on the fly substitutes. I'm going to need someone to break this sport down for me and explain it so that I can understand it because it is just absurd. Here's another clip. I don't even know what happens here. None of these are oh, that's the broken one again. Yeah, it's just this one. It's this one. Oh my God. Wait a minute. Hang on. All right. It's that one broken rim clip that keeps getting all the attention. But is that Sean? Look, look at this hoop. Do you notice anything here? Do you notice the base right here? This is a backyard hoop. This is a driveway hoop. That's
Oh
all.
wow, dude! It is. Holy shit!
Now, I don't believe these are the same two teams, but this very well, and it's definitely not because even the sponsors are different. But this could have been a result of, hey, you dipshits broke the last glass backboard we had. So now you're going to use my stepson's driveway hoop. Like, even when you look at the backboard, it's bent. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. This reminds me so Sean, you weren't around for this, but you probably know no one could beat Kev on his home driveway because I lived in a windy part of the world and our hoop constantly got knocked down. So my rim was at like a 45-degree angle, so you had to have that nice high arcing rainbow just to get it up and in there. So I'm wondering which of these guys has this hoop on his driveway and has the home court advantage here.
They had to
I'm
make a call like, "Hey man, somebody broke the glass. Anybody got a spare rim?" And dude's like, "Yep, let me run home real quick." Just brought it in a pickup, dude. That's crazy.
it is
Oh
ridiculous.
my
Oh, I
goodness.
love this sport. Oh, this guy's oh no, he didn't dribble. He just took. Oh, and they all do the weird Jason Kidd free throw thing where they put their foot in front. Like it's so unique to me. It's almost as if this is a country that's never seen any basketball played, and they just decided to add
Make their own.
basketball. Yeah, to
Yeah.
UFC. I for one am just enthralled. I cannot get enough of this sport. So we absolutely will bring. Oh, we got a hype video. All right, I'll stop after the hype video. I promise. I'll just doom scroll Batry Ball forever. I mean, like, look at those takedowns. Like, some of this stuff seems to be additional and unnecessary, but Batyr Ball is the new hotness. Now, Sean, you mentioned that you are a non-believer when it comes to Batry Ball's popularity in the United States. And while I don't doubt that assessment, I will say that it wasn't that long ago that in the cold, icy mountains of Russia, MFs were slapping each other for sport on television. And I remember seeing that and thinking, wow, what a world. You'll never see that in America. Lo and behold, not only do we now have that in America, but it's not just that slap mountain stuff that you see on YouTube, which, Sean, I hope you come watch that with me someday. It's better than what we're about to watch. The originals usually are. They do a whole wrestling thing, which I think these guys try to do, but Slap Mountain is much better. But what we have now is Power Slap, brought to you by, of course, not only the owner of the UFC, but a world-renowned slapper himself. Look it up if you don't know. He's a big fan of slapping people to ring in the new year. So here we have Power Slap, Sean. So let's roll that beautiful bean footage and say goodnight to Waylon Frost here.
Gee, please.
Yeah, that's on TBS, by the way. Yeah, holy fucking shit, says Data White on TBS. TBS is, they're trying to be the new FX or something. They got AEW. They're always saying all kinds of cuss words. I'm about it, but this is kind of gross, right? Like early on, it's funny to laugh at some of these, but when you look at this guy and you see his hands all curled up afterwards like Tua, and it's like this dude just got a concussion. Like those two dudes had to catch him so his head didn't fall and him potentially get a second major brain injury when he hit the ground. Like, and then you see at the very end, he's I'm gonna let it play one more time and then I'm gonna pause it. I'm actually gonna pause it in a couple spots, I think. Oh my goodness. They catch him. Luckily, they hold his head back, but once we get to the end here, you're going to see for a split second. Look at it. Look at that, dude. He's got his head. Look at his hands. That's exactly. Do you remember that when Tua got his third concussion in 2 days, 2 weeks or whatever, when his fingers were all. This is the same stuff, and they're just, these guys are just taking unprotected head slaps for TV. I don't know. Sorry, I clearly have buried the lead. I've clearly given my opinion on this, but Sean, before we look into any more of this ridiculous, what's your first take on slap fight, power slap? Sorry, on TBS.
Oh, I got a mixed take on it. I think the idea of it to me is just fucking hilarious. Like I don't know, just the fact that just a bunch of grown men just slapping the piss out of each other is just the idea of it's kind of funny to turn it into a sport. But I also agree with you. I think it's very I don't know, dangerous. Like these dudes just like you said, the way the guy's hand curled, and he definitely got a concussion. Like there's no doubt in my mind. It's I don't think it's a healthy sport at all to be doing. I mean, a lot of sports are. I mean, pretty much all sports are dangerous in a sense, but to just be standing there toe to toe with a guy and trying to literally smack the shit out of this dude, like that's the goal, to knock him out. Like it's a little excessive, my dude. I don't know if it's something I would get behind, and I mean, some of these guys like the way they prep for it, like this guy obviously is trying to prepare himself, and then I mean, some of it you can't help but laugh because it just looks so goofy, but these dudes are like could seriously get hurt, man. It's kind of fucked up.
Yeah,
It doesn't surprise me that
like that.
Yeah, man, it's wild. And it doesn't surprise me that King Slapaho himself is, hosting it, but God, dude, it's just like what people the depths of that what people sink to, man, to make $1 is just beyond me, man. It's crazy. I'm not a fan of the slap fest, but I could see it being somewhat successful. I mean, people like to see people hurt each other, as fucked up as that is. I mean, dude, we live in a society where people enjoy violence, man. Like it's encouraged. So and promoted and endorsed by a lot of people who have the money to make it popular, man. So
Yeah, it'll probably be on
I can't blame.
DraftKings soon too. You know,
Yeah,
you
dude.
can't
Well, you
forget
know,
about
he'd be
that.
betting on. Yeah, he'd be betting on somebody to slap the piss out of someone, dude.
Be able to
Great.
vote on your favorite slappy, dude. We've always wanted to do that. We've always wanted to vote on our favorite slappies. Here's another good one. That guy's at least awake. He stayed alive for his. That's good. Look at all the powder on. And there are some of these you start to see just like the side. Oh yeah, look at this, man. This is ridiculous. Like I agree with you. So when I was watching this on Slap Mountain, and I feel bad. Whatever. This is self-report. Maybe I'm just a self-loathing hillbilly. But when it was a bunch of hillbillies slapping each other and being cartoony, they also. I don't know that they were maybe as good as it. Maybe that's the problem. These guys are too good at it, and they're slapping the absolute shit out of each other. But yeah, it's just it's difficult, man. It is difficult to get behind this. Look at this. Drew just 295,000 viewers for its debut. 45th, like that's bad. It did very bad in the key demo, so I don't think this is going to have a long life. I think this is more of like this. It's YouTube, like this is internet content. I don't think this is for the masses. If I don't think the grandma and grandpa don't want to see this on TBS. Nobody wants to see, like the kids aren't going to stay and watch this, especially. I'd be honest with you, Sean, it blows my mind that a company went through with this after. If I'm in charge, the second Dana White is on TMZ slapping his wife, this show gets the plug pulled immediately. Their Warner Brothers has canned entire movies that are completely filmed. They've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on the marketing, and then they said, nah, we can't do it. So the fact that TBS even aired the show blows my mind, and they are getting no ratings. Not a good look to me, but man, I do agree. Like it's tough. I have the mixed feelings. Like it I want to laugh at it, and to be honest, I have a hard time shedding a tear for anybody who's willingly signing up for this. But at the same time, I feel like you and I, like to a lesser degree, like we have something in common with these folks. Like we know what it's like to have a dream for one reason or another. Maybe some of them are just out after the cash. What I imagine what a lot of these folks are after, though, is an opportunity to be a professional athlete, because it's a childhood dream that has eluded them. And one of the things about 2023 is there are brand new opportunities almost daily to become a professional athlete, or even if you can become a professional athlete at this point. You can get drafted into the NBA 2K league. So there are a ton of opportunities. So with that in mind, like my heart goes out to these folks, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, well, if you're signing up for this, I can't feel too bad for you, but I wouldn't willingly want to watch people get their brains bashed in for no reason.
Right.
Oh, for a cash prize. But the only way this works is if they go full WWE. That's my opinion on it, Sean. They have got to have characters and managers. People have got to start cheating to win. You know what I mean? You got to see, somebody's got to let go of that little bar or something. You got to have a guy, pull his head back. Something, you got to spice it up. It can't just be Dana White can't be the only one providing the controversy to this program, or it's going to be dead in the water. But there it is. Slap fights coming to America, and hopefully Batry Ball will be soon to follow. But Sean, this takes me to really, the highlight of the day. I'm just going to go ahead and pop this up. We got to make sure we actually do get the audio for this one, my man. So, all right. I think you're ready. Here we go.
On fire. Have you ever been that hot in Las Vegas?
Not that hot. It's probably why I'm going somewhere else.
on fire. Have you ever
Can we get that? Can we replay that one more time?
You want it again? Oh yeah, I need it. Let me one more time. I love it. I've got a newly earned love for this.
ever been that hot in Las Vegas?
Not that hot. It's probably why I'm going somewhere else.
On fire. Have you ever
Like Trevor Lawrence trying not to laugh in the background. Look at this. Wait for it. He's like, "Oh, I'm glad he said it, not me." Yeah.
That's
Oh
hilarious.
my God! So Derek Carr from the top rope, I love it. But yeah, it's from the top rope onto himself. But yeah, that was a good self burn. See, and that's the beauty of it. Look, see, Derek Carr makes a self-deprecating joke, and now I love him. You know, see, he's a smart man. He's getting ready for his new city. I don't know where it will be, but Sean, you and I haven't had a chance to talk much about this whole thing. So I guess I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk about, because you have been Derek Carr's, at least in my personal sphere, you have been his biggest defender. You have been someone who has, in my opinion, correctly called out that this guy has gotten a raw deal with the number of offensive coordinators and head coaches that he's had in Las Vegas. So I wanted to give you an opportunity just to get your thoughts out there on the final chapter of your franchise QB.
Yeah, so I want to stand by what I've said before. I think Derek Carr is a good quarterback. Like, I don't think he's the problem. I've never thought he was the problem. I mean, he's had games where he hasn't shown up. He's been inconsistent at times. I'm not going to deny that. But, dude, anyone in his position that's had to deal for the last almost a decade, dude, 9 years he dealt with dysfunction every year, whether it's coming from the front office, the coaching staff, some of these players they bring in, like the Antonio Browns of the world, who just bring a fucking circus to town, and just chaos, man. Time and time again, the John Gruden bullshit. And here's the thing, man. Like, I hate to say it, but the Raiders are a shit show. They're a laughing stock. It's never going to get better if change don't come from the top. Mark Davis will never, but should sell the fucking team. He's a clown. I've said this time and time again. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing from a football aspect. He's a good businessman. I mean, he accomplished what his dad could never accomplish and tried for years, which was getting their own stadium built, having their own hometown. They are the Vegas Raiders. They have their footing there, dude. That's their stadium. Something they could never accomplish for years. Al Davis tried. Could never get it done. And Mark Davis was able to get it done. So I give him credit for that. Say what you want. There's people who were butthurt about the move, but honestly, I thought it was a good thing. And, yeah, hats off to him for that. But other than that, I mean, when it comes to a product on the field, there isn't much to really be proud of. Look at this clown, dude. This is the guy who's running the team. Like, this dude, yeah, this guy fucking wears a fucking 7th grade backpack around. He's got a fucking Pokemon keychain probably on the back of it, dude. He's a clown, dude.
He is
This
Logan
guy.
Paul's biggest fan, dude. I can tell already. Yeah. Sorry, I had to. While you were talking about the business acumen, which is fair. I meme because I care. But I couldn't help but think about these photos when you're talking about, this is the guy. You want to blame Derek Carr instead of this guy? Help yourself. Have at it. Enjoy that.
Right.
Yeah.
But dude,
Derek
it's
Carr's
just
the guy who got
shitty.
Josh McDaniel and John Gruden involved, right?
Yeah, dude. Like, it's just shitty that he got blamed for the year. Like, dude, we had a playoff team. We made it to the playoffs last year. Yeah, we lost in the first round, but we made it to the playoffs during a year where arguably the most adversity any team in history's ever had to face in a single year, dude. Still made it to the playoffs somehow, miraculously. Pulled it off. With an interim head coach who they also shafted to bring Josh McDaniels in. kicked Rich Bisaccia to the curb, like a freaking told him to, brought him home, fucked the shit out of him, and then made him pay for his own cab, dude. It's kind of shitty
Thanks
how
for the
they
memories,
did that, dude. Yeah, man. And then, dude, made him pay for his own Uber, dude. And it's just shitty that they did him like that. And it doesn't surprise me in the end that they shaft Derek Carr, because that's what they do, man. They find scapegoats time and time again, and they take forever to finally, do something about the root of the problem. And at this point, what can you do, man? The poison comes from up top. Like, it trickles down. Like, you got this ass clown Mark Davis who refuses to sell the team, who will never sell the team, which is his daddy's team. Yeah, he's sentimental, dude. I get it. He's probably never going to give it up. But I just wish he would at least, bring someone in that's better at hiring and better at, like, evaluating, staff and personnel. Because, like, dude, Josh McDaniels, I don't know anyone that could say it with a straight face that Josh McDaniels is a good coach. Like, no one, not ever, has anyone been like, yeah, that dude's great. He's a hell of a coach. Not ever, bro. Like, he was an okay coordinator. But how much was that really him, dude? Like, that's the thing. How much of that was really him? You had Tom fucking Brady, dude, and you're coaching under Belichick. How much of that was really you?
Not to
and then you
Wes
come
Welker and Randy Moss and
Gronk, all these talented dudes. Like, man,
vicious murderer Aaron Hernandez, who could make some plays
bro.
when he was on the field. But yeah, I agree with that. And there's also, to add to your point about McDaniels, go ask or look at Broncos players who played under him. The before and the after, from once they got caught capturing their opponents' practices from an illegal angle. You take away their bird's eye view so they can literally see all the plays that are being run, and McDaniel had nothing. He wasn't a coach. So yeah, if anything, he's decent at designing plays, but I don't even know if I would call him a good coordinator anymore. I wonder if you put him back in that Patriot system now, although I do believe Mac Jones is going to really do much better with Matt Patricia gone, I don't know that Josh McDaniel will ever duplicate what he was able to do just because he had Tom Brady, Wes Welker. I mean, there were some guys that came through there outside of Welker and Moss. But, yeah, I agree with you. I think this is a McDaniel problem. So I guess the question that I have for you, knowing what you know about Carr and seeing what you've seen about him this season, which I have his career stuff pulled up. I'm about to switch over to this season stats, but obviously this guy's going to go somewhere. Do you have any feeling for where you'd like to see him go as a supporter of him, or do you think there's a really great fit? Because I personally, I've been in this situation before, and just honestly, as an outsider, I'd love to see Derek Carr make a playoff run. If he has to go somewhere, I don't want to see him go toil in obscurity. But what about you, Sean? Any feelings about that, and anywhere you think he'd end up?
Yeah, so I want to see him go to a stable organization, somewhere that has a solid coaching staff in place, somewhere that has just stability in general, man, from the front office down, somewhere that's not constantly full of toxicity, doesn't have personnel and administrators and vice presidents resigning left and right, and all this accusations of, hostile work environment, just shit that just is unnecessary, man. Like, I just want to see him go somewhere that fits him, dude. Because say what you want about his play, but by all regards, anytime I've ever seen any players or anyone talk about Derek Carr, they always say he's a good dude. They say he's a solid dude. He's a good leader. He really was able to pull that team out of the bullshit last year, got them to the playoffs through all that adversity with the Henry Ruggs situation, John Gruden, all that. Like, he was able to keep it together, man. Like, he's a good dude. And I think wherever he goes, he's going to ball out. Like, whoever gets him is getting a steal. Like, he's going to have a bigger chip on his shoulder than he's ever had. And I'll be honest, I think right now, I think it's going to be either the Saints, which I've said before, but more lately, dude, I'm not going to lie. I would not be surprised if he ended up in white and blue, dude, out there playing Indiana football, dog. It could happen. I'm telling you, kid. Hey, dude, I can tell you right now, if he ends up going to the Colts, you're going to be singing a different tune a year from now because he's going to get y'all to the playoffs, and you're going to probably make a run, dude. Playoffs. Because you guys think about it, dude. You guys got all the pieces. All you need is a quarterback, man. You got the running game. You got good defense, solid receiving core. All you need is a QB. Derek Carr is the guy. I'm telling you, he'll come in. He's better than anything you've had since Andrew Luck. That I can easily say.
True. I don't disagree. But there was a reason I held up, the 7 here. It's the old adage, the 7th time's the charm. My thing, and we talked about this, I'm about to spoil kind of our last segment here before we get into it, but it's kind of like what I'd asked you previously before the show about a certain ayahuasca taken quarterback potentially ending up in Vegas, where I'm kind of the mindset of, at this point, I'm done with the Band-Aid quarterbacks in Indianapolis. I as much as I would like to believe, because everything that you just said, it's potentially true, and we all thought it was true, we being Colts fans, and I think NFL fans at large, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but going into the season, other than a few people that mentioned the Titans, I believe that once Matt Ryan came over, everyone was saying it's the Colts' division to win. It's their division to win. They added a former MVP. I was saying it. I knew all the stats about how well, what his record was in games where he had a 100-yard rusher. And yes, Jonathan Taylor being injured is a big, big factor, but that offensive line was garbage. It's the highest paid offensive line in football, and also one of the worst in football. So hopefully, I mean, it's one of those situations where the two holes in that line were so massive that it made everyone around them shitty, if that makes sense. Quentin Nelson here at left guard, he's got no one at center because they also had an injured center. So the Colts' big holes are at right guard and left tackle. So you got your left guard here, and at times there's an injured, there's a backup center next. So, you have this all-pro Quentin Nelson looking like a turd, no fault of his own, because everything's exploding around him. He can't figure out, I better go bail this guy out. And then meanwhile, a blitzing linebacker just waltzed through the middle because Quentin's not doing his job because he's covering for somebody else. So my whole thing with the Colts is I would rather them get the quarterback that's going to be there for the next 10 years. I look at what the Jags were able to do with the right coach and the right guys around a Trevor Lawrence. And I said it earlier in this show. I believe you get to the Super Bowl by paying. You're right. We have a good defense in Indianapolis. Keep paying those guys and bring in a quarterback on a rookie. You're already going to have to pay Matt Ryan this year, something. I get nervous, and it's no slight against Derek Carr. And you may remember this. I had gone after the whole Carson Wentz thing. I was fine. I think I had told you this. I would have preferred. There was a time last offseason I kind of came full circle. I really didn't want Derek Carr, but then after a couple of our podcasts, I was like, okay, I wouldn't have minded him. Going into last year, if it had been Derek Carr instead of Matt Ryan, I feel like the Colts season might have gone completely differently. But I don't know. I think it's too late now.
You're probably not wrong. Here's the thing. Like, you make a good point about the rookie deal. Because if you guys did get Derek Carr, you're going to have to pay him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's more money being spent on the QB when in all reality, if you guys don't have a line, he's definitely not the guy you want if he doesn't have any time to throw. Like, there's no – I can definitely validate that. Like, he's had so many shitty offensive lines through so many seasons. Like, the seasons where he's had good lines, he's done great. Like, the season where he had, like, Donald Penn and Kelechi Altamaweli or whatever the fuck his name was. And, that was the year everyone was talking about Derek Carr for MVP. That was the year he broke his leg right before the playoffs. Like, that was when he was at his height. Dude, and he had a great line. He had all day to throw the ball. but he's not the guy you want running out of pocket and trying to throw on a run. Like, he's not that dude. So if that's the case, you probably are better off trying to get you one of these more young, mobile quarterbacks, maybe like a C.J. Stroud, somebody of that caliber, that can throw on a run, maybe even a Bryce Young if you're into that. But, something like that probably is in your better interest, I would say. But I honestly think he's going to end up in New Orleans. I know there's been a lot of talk about the Jets. I guess the Jets are all in on a veteran. It's between him and Aaron Rodgers. Guess they're shooting for either one of those guys. So I don't know. I just don't see him wanting to go to the Jets. But they do got some pieces,
one,
man.
Like, right? That's I tell you what, Madden 24, I feel like the Jets are going to be the go-to dynasty team. Like, I'm kind of getting the itch. I might fire up Madden 23 and start a Jets dynasty and find my own little quarterback in the draft because, yeah, they have so many interesting pieces at running back with Zonovan. And then that's behind Breece Hall, and that's not to mention Michael Carter, who's a talented pass catcher, Garrett Wilson. They have multiple talented receivers out there. Like, that is a team that genuinely – the Jets – feels weird to say this. The Jets are – they might – in a more valid sense, be in that position that people thought the Colts were in coming into this year, where they might genuinely be a quarterback away. They were very close to the playoffs this year with the revolving door, and it's a real bummer for Mike White, right? That guy has had two of the most amazing individual single game performances, right? And he's had them almost a full year apart, and now because of injuries he probably is once again not going to get a chance to be the guy. Like, for all we know, Mike White is the guy, right, in New York, but he just apparently is never going to get a real crack at it. But I think I would be excited to see the Jets with a veteran quarterback. I will urge Mr. Aaron Rodgers to reconsider if he's thinking about New York. And I actually think Aaron Rodgers will decline New York for this exact reason, unless it is the only good option he feels that he has. But I say to you this, Sean, those who do not study history are doomed to repeat it. And when I say things like a past his prime Packers quarterback joining the New York Football Jets, so does that ring any bells to you? Does that feel like something that's maybe happened before?
It does ring a bell, yeah. I gotta say, seeing a number 4, it's looking pretty clear, bro.
Yeah, and if there's one guy to emulate, it's Brett Favre's fucking scumbag. Oops, I broke the. We were doing so well without cussing this episode, but I don't care. Brett Favre deserves it. He's a scumbag.
Yes, he is. Yes.
So I think for that
I will not argue that.
What do you think, though, Sean? Do you think that – I feel like Aaron Rodgers is the kind of guy who just – if we know that, he knows it because he reads his own headlines. He's not going to want – there are enough Favre Rodgers. Like, he can't retire this year, I think, because of all the weird parallels. I think he has to play one more year, and he can't go to New York, and he can't go to Minnesota. Luckily, Minnesota is not an option for him. But, I part of me thinks that Aaron Rodgers will avoid the Jets at all costs because of that narrative. And that takes me to what is potentially our final topic here because and we may work in a little Tom Brady with this because Tom Brady is kind of he's kind of what has set these wheels into motion with Tom Brady finally announcing his own retirement. Now, Aaron Rodgers, I feel like, is the only name that I am seeing linked to your Raiders. Before, it was all Tom. It was Tom or Aaron, right? Either one could go to the Raiders. Now, I, for one, believe that now that I've seen it, I think Tom Brady played an entire extra season of football just so Adam Schefter couldn't get a scoop on him, so he could be the one to announce his own retirement. But if you believe that Tom Brady is really retired, then that means Aaron Rodgers might be the best option for the Raiders. Now, Sean, I would love to know, I think I already know, but I would love to know what your thoughts are. Is Aaron Rodgers an option for the Raiders? And if not, is there anyone out there? Like, who are you looking at? Are you looking in the draft for a new QB?
I would be extremely upset if Aaron Rodgers came to the Raiders. I don't want nothing to do with that bum. He can take his fucking shit somewhere else and stay the hell away from my team. That's how I feel about it. And I want to keep that one short and sweet. But
That's fair.
as far as where I think they're going to do, I think they're going to roll the dice on Stidham. I think he's going to be the guy to start the year, and I think they are going to look for somebody in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. If they can't land Aaron Rodgers, which they're probably going to make a run at him, I'm just hoping he says, nah, F that noise. But Devontae's there. Maybe that's some incentive for him to want to join, but I hope not. But yeah. What do you think will happen, Kev?
Fair
What's your
enough.
thoughts on
The Stidham thing interests me, and I don't disagree with you. I think that could very well be it. They really seem to be a lot of hype on him. You can enlighten me as far as those last couple of weeks went, if you feel that was genuine success. I didn't actually watch the games, but I know that he put up some numbers in those final few starts. So the one thing, though, that I have to say when it comes to, or the one thing I guess the Raiders would have going for them if they went the Rodgers route, is that I have seen Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams get teams to the playoffs almost by themselves. So there is that, but again, you and I as fans, Sean, we are in an oddly parallel situation, right? Maybe some of the factors are different, but we both have a dominant, certain franchise running back, and then you guys have a much better wide receiver situation. But they're both teams that are coming into the year we're thought to be playoff teams, and now we're like, are we playoff teams? We kind of need to reload. Does that mean a brand new quarterback? Does that mean a bridge quarterback? Is a bridge quarterback just going to get us into a wild card game where we get stomped? And as a Pacers fan, I'm sitting here saying no. Give me 1 year without the playoffs if it means that we can go back to being a good team. Like, I don't want to just aim for I don't want to just get there. I don't want to just be like, oh, hey, we made it. Cool. We get one extra week of football, and now I get to be sad. No, I don't want that. So I tend to be on the side of going young. Find what you have for the future. So I wouldn't be against the Stidham thing, but if the Rodgers thing happens for your boys, Sean, I think it bodes well for a playoff spot. Again, I don't know that it's going to be anything more than a consolation. Hey, we made it to the wild card. But I do think you will be right in the mix with old A-Rod. But it's a weird year. Pardon me. Jimmy Garoppolo's out there, and I don't think he's an option for your team. I don't know. Personally, I don't think he's an option for any team, but that's just me. So yeah, there's not a lot in the veteran quarterback market this year, right? Now that Tom Brady is allegedly retired. So I don't know. I'd skew young if I were you, but it is very interesting. Patriot quarterbacks not named Tom Brady have not been successful. You go to Jimmy Garoppolo, Jacoby Brissett, Matt Castle. They're hopefully Jarrett Stidham is the exception to the rule for your team's sake.
Well, I appreciate that. I can't say I believe it, but we'll see what happens, man. I'm already just kind of planning on not necessarily following my squad as heavily as I typically would this coming season, because I don't think there's much to be excited about as of right now. But we'll see what happens in the off season. We'll see if we can pull off a trade for Derek Carr and get anything in return. See what the draft capital looks like, because Derek Carr does have that no trade clause, so he can easily deny. He can turn down. If they try to come up with something he doesn't like, he'd be like, nah, fuck that noise, and that's it. So, yeah, he very well could play hardball, because it does seem like he's definitely a little bitter about the way things went down, rightfully so. So I don't see him wanting to do the Raiders any favors. So I could see him maybe playing a little hardball and putting us in a tough spot where we might have to cut him and not get shit for him. So that very well could happen. He can decide to go wherever he wants to go.
That is a valid point, and I don't think that's outside of the realm of possibility. I'll say it that way. I don't think the odds are terrible for something like that. Now, I will let you know, this is a little fun. We're at the end of the show here, so those of you who have listened this far, we thank you very much. But a little inside baseball here. I joined a company franchise league for Stadium Rant, and it's only 4 guys. So we did 3 random teams, and the other guys all ended up in different AFC divisions. So even though, so I ended up getting my pick of any AFC West team, despite the way the randoms worked out. So I ended up going with your Raiders, Sean, and I managed to get a 3rd-round pick. I think I could have gotten more, because there's nothing more disheartening than someone accepting your first trade offer, because then that makes you feel like, well, I probably could have gotten more for that, huh? So I was able to trade Derek Carr for a 3rd-rounder straight up, but that did not work out very well for me because everyone drafted quarterbacks right ahead of me. So now I'm starting Snoop Huntley with Max Duggan as my backup. Don't worry, Sean. I will keep you in the loop and how badly I destroy your favorite franchise.
Well, damn, dude. I appreciate that.
I tried, man. I tried. We're 3-0 so far. I'm hanging in there, but it's not pretty. I run the ball like 35 times a game, so that's what we got.
Gotta do what you gotta do, dog. That's wild.
Playing that old Bobby Boucher SCLSU mud dog football, dude. We just take 3 knees and punt. Hope that Max Crosby can force a turnover.
It was great.
Oh,
well, yeah, dude. I guess I should probably say my final words to the audience.
Let them know where they can find you, brother.
Yeah, dude. You guys can find me on the Twitter at Baker Screet. That's SKREET mode. And appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, Kev, it was a blast. Appreciate you having me on. This is ultimately one of my most favorite times of the week. So I do appreciate you having me on here for that, bro.
Same, brother. I can't wait. I look forward to hopefully more episodes of Supersize Sports with you coming on. And, of course, I want to thank you out there listening to us. Of course, you can find me on Twitter at @KevNevick_. You can find the show at Bitesize Sports everywhere the internet is made. And, yeah, Instagram, TikTok, all of that good stuff. But it's most important that you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you are notified when we go live. You can also, if you're more into the audio podcast, you can find us anywhere podcasts are offered, but I suggest Spotify and or Apple Podcasts. But that is it. I am done. I am out. We are so grateful for you. We thank you, and we are on to big things here in 2023. So don't miss out. See you next time.
Peace.
Did this dude just did this?